Hello folks, and a warm welcome. You're tuned in to My Meditation, the Outdoors series. My name's Guy Cross, and I'll be introducing you to some interesting people with some interesting ways of using the outdoors to help sustain a healthy frame of mind. With being an outdoor lover myself, and using the outdoors to take care of my own mental health, I've always been curious as to how other people use outdoor hobbies and activities to take care of themselves, and that curiosity led me to the birth of this podcast series. My guests will talk about their favourite outdoor hobby, and we'll go into depth of how it helps them find peace of mind. Hopefully one of, if not many of the hobbies within this series will help you, or at the very least inspire you. And that's the whole aim of these podcasts, to fill you with ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of before, and to hear some positive, encouraging, real-life stories from my guests. Sometimes, hearing someone else's perspective on a hobby or activity gives you a fresh new way of looking at it, which can't be a bad thing, right? So without further ado, let's meet this week's guest. Hello everyone. So today I'm speaking with Richard Hughes. He's born and bred on Anglesey in North Wales, and he's a family man with 2 kids. He has his own outdoor activity company called Morn Active, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So hello Richard, how are you doing today?
Hi Guy, how are you doing? I'm really well.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks buddy. I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today.
No problem.
I understand you've just come from a pretty active couple of days, so you must be pretty shattered.
Yeah, I've been up in the Lake District this weekend doing a bit of walking and a bit of sightseeing.
Oh, nice. So, just to begin with, do you want to let the listeners know a little bit about your business called Morn Active and what that's all about?
Yeah, sure. I set up Morn Active back in 2016. The main bulk of the work at that time was delivering first aid courses, so outdoor first aid for people working in the outdoors, as well as kind of the sort of first aid course you do at your factory or office type building. So it was quite a broad range of first aid courses, and about the same time as well, I was starting to offer more and more outdoor activities. The business kind of grew into delivering both those aspects really, and we've been doing that now for 5 years. Prior to that, I've been working in the outdoor industry since sort of 2004, 2005 with a season in Bude, and then went to uni, and then came out of uni and went to work at local authority level, working as an outdoor activity development officer. So yeah, I've been very much in the outdoor industry since then, so 16, 17 years now.
No, fair dues. That's a fairly lengthy time. So were you into the outdoors before you started all of this as well?
Only a little. I did when I was much younger. I was in the Air Cadets, and that really gave me my first taste, I guess, of outdoorsy stuff. We did a little bit of climbing and stuff, and kayaking in school, but not a huge amount. And then the Air Cadets went on a few adventure training weekends and adventure training week long sort of holidays in different parts of the country, and then just dabbled with it then because it was never something that became a really big thing until I moved down to Bude and then started doing it full time.
Yeah. What a beautiful place to start it, Bude down in Cornwall, right?
Yeah. It's a great place. Yeah, great surf,
stunning.
Great cliffs for climbing and stuff.
Yeah, there's so much to do if you're into the sea life, the ocean, all of that, the activities that involves is pretty active down there, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. There's quite a big scene out there of surfers, climbers, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's a great place to live.
Yeah. No, yeah, you picked a pretty good place there, to be fair. So, in Morn Active, going back to your little business there, what kind of things do you teach as far as water sports and stuff?
The bulk of the work now is around kind of instructor training stuff. So we teach people to become leaders and coaches in sea kayaking and paddleboarding. Those are the 2 main disciplines, I guess, we work in. I hold sort of some of the highest qualifications you can within British canoeing in both those activities. So those are my specialisms, if you like. But I also kind of offer, guided walks, mountaineering, winter and summer stuff, as well as I do a little bit of underground work, cave and mine leadership stuff as well. So yeah, it's quite a broad range of activities that we offer.
Yeah, wow, you've got quite a, I was going to say, a good range of activities there for people to get involved with, definitely.
Yeah,
and if you can't get onto the ocean, obviously you've got things on land you can do there, like you say, with the hikes and the caving and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have kind of. I think the industry demands, that people. You've either got to be a super specialist and be an expert in your field, or you've got to have quite a broad range of qualifications in a broad range of activities, really.
Yeah. So what's your favourite like outdoor activity? What's your form of, say, meditation that you go to? What makes you feel the best?
I think just anything that involves being on the ocean. I think so. Being on the sea.
Yeah, you're a big sea lover, basically.
Yeah. Kind of. I grew up on Anglesey, but never really kind of. Never really sort of took up any kayaking or anything like that when I was a kid, but not until I was much older. But yeah, but I've always been kind of a big fan of the sea, and then more recently, it's either it's just spending time in my sea kayak or on the paddleboard, as far away from other people as possible. Usually,
yeah. I was going to ask you actually. Yeah, I was going to ask you a question of, do you prefer going out like into the ocean by yourself, or do you like going in groups? Obviously, with your work, you're going to be with groups of people. That's a different kettle of fish. But in your own time, how do you like to do it?
Usually, logistics dictate that I end up by myself because I might decide kind of last minute that it's a nice evening, or I've had a really stressful day or whatever, and I just chuck the boat on the roof, or I chuck the paddleboard in the back of the van, and then I just go and paddle, sort of thing. So usually those last minute events like that don't really mean that anybody can come with you at that short notice. So yeah, a lot of my paddling like that is solo, but I do enjoy paddling with friends and stuff as well. We've got a bit of a scene here on Anglesey, which I kind of enjoy partaking in, which is kind of looking at sea kayaking and stuff in a kind of with a more performance angle on it. So applying, sort of sports science training type stuff, methodology to what is kind of usually viewed as quite a sedate, calm sport. We take it to a different place and try and do time trials, or go around an island really fast, or who can go from A to B really quickly, or that sort of thing. So it's kind of like a different approach to it, really. So that's kind of what
that's cool.
Spending my time doing, really.
Yeah, and I guess that's for, well, obviously to feel good and stuff, but I guess that's for more like exercise as well, isn't it? For endurance, that's the word I'm looking for. More of an endurance kayaking rather than a relaxing, just kind of like watching the sun go down kind of kayaking.
Yeah, it's a very different take to it. I think if nothing else, you get to maximise your time on the water. But the one of the big things I've noticed it gave me was when I'm working and you've had a long day on the water, I've still got quite a lot of gas left in the tank. If anything does happen at the end of the day, which invariably it does, someone falls in or someone has or whatever, you've got plenty of reserves to sort of mop it all up, and it doesn't faze you, sort of thing. And that's been the biggest kind of benefit from a sort of a work point of view. But from a physical point of view, it's just what I do instead of going to the gym or going for a run. I just jump in the kayak and go, sort of thing.
Yeah. And do you ever just go down to the ocean to do the opposite of what you're talking about, just to relax on a kayak, just to kind of go out there and enjoy the sunset or whatever's going on at that time?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
is that where you get your headspace?
Yeah, I mean, either or, really, both of them. I quite enjoy the headspace of training hard. If nothing, because a lot of people think that when you go kayaking, you sort of switch off and you're just bimbling along. Whereas most of the time, if I'm doing a time trial or a circumnavigation or something like that, I'm doing sort of maths, if you like, mental arithmetic on the hoof all the time, trying to work out how fast I'm going, what time I'm going to get to a certain point. Is the tide going to be working well? Is it going to be the wrong way? So there's all you kind of. It's not really a switch off time. It's more of a kind of a change of focus.
Yeah, so your mind's always busy. Yeah, it's almost like it is kind of mindfulness meditation in a way, isn't it? Your mind is so focused on what you're doing at that moment. You can't switch off to something else. You have to keep your mind fully engaged in what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tend to go into quite dynamic environments as well. So there's either quite a lot of tidal flow, or there's quite a lot of wave action, or a mixture, so that it's not you can't really switch off. You kind of have to be fairly awake, otherwise you'll just be in the water. So
yeah, and I know what some of the waters are like around Anglesey. I mean, they're not to be reckoned with, are they, to be fair?
No, the sea always wins.
Yeah. And what's your favourite part of Anglesey to kayak, for example?
I keep going back to the Menai Strait.
Yeah.
I just think that for a sea kayaker, it just offers everything. You can get stretches of flat water, you can get stretches of really fast moving water, you can get bumpy water, you can get smooth water. It gives you everything. You can, if you decide you want to do a certain type of session, you can go down to a certain bit of it and do that session. Or you can, if you want a super chilled, relaxed bimble, you can go and you can do that. So for me, it's almost like a perfect venue, really.
Yeah, it's like a one-stop shop for everything you need as far as kayaking conditions are concerned.
Yeah. And then there's also like a couple of kind of classic trips as well that are kind of almost rites of passage for sea kayakers on Anglesey, which is to do the far west coast of the island, when you sort of start from Porthdafach and go up to Holyhead. So you take in like North Stack and South Stack, that trip over that side. That's always been a sort of rite of passage. So that one's also, if the weather's good and the tide's going in that direction, then usually that's another one to jump on.
Yeah, a beautiful part of the island as well. I mean, the cliffs there are pretty big, aren't they? I mean, to be kayaking around that, you must feel quite small being in the ocean looking up at them cliffs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you get the whole mix, the whole place, the atmosphere of the place you're in, plus like the thousands and thousands of birds that are flying above your head, and the sheer scale of the cliffs, and and just the power that you can see, the power in the ocean as well, just from how fast it's zipping past the headlands and stuff. It just kind of makes you feel really kind of small and insignificant.
Yeah, I can imagine, and a little bit scary, personally speaking, anyway, with the ocean, like just being in them, you're kind of exposed there, aren't you?
It's very committing, that trip.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, where's the nearest kind of point where'd you go from? You've just said, actually, haven't you? But how far is the point from there to South Stack?
So from it's about 10-kilometre trip, and there are about 3 or 4 bits maybe you could get out of on that trip easily. Yeah. Even if the weather was really bad or the conditions were really big. But
so you've got little places where you can kind of dip out if things do get a little bit hairy.
If you're really desperate, then there are a few places that you could get to if you really, really needed to in an emergency or whatever. But the landings are fairly limited on that stretch of coastline, so it's quite committing. You just sort of strap in and
hope for the best.
Yeah.
No, fair play. I mean, you've clearly got the experience to do that anyway. Like you say, you've been doing it for many years now, so. You're pretty fortunate in that way.
Yeah. I think that's the key. I mean, I've taken a few people on that trip in kayaks or recently in paddleboards as well, and they're kind of, everybody I take seems to say, well, I'd never do that trip, on my own. I'd always have to take someone who knows what they're doing with me, just because of, if nothing else, just because of the tidal flow element, because if you get it wrong, you're just not gonna make it to the end. You'll just get pushed back to the start by the tide.
Yeah, and just the thought of just them cliffs in front of you, and you can't physically get on land, can you? If something's happened, at least if you've got like in Llanddwyn, like Newborough or something, at least you can kind of.
Yeah, there's always somewhere you can just sneak out. Yeah.
You
might have a long walk, but you can always get off the water, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, fair dues. That sounds exciting, man. I mean, I'd love to have a little go at in the Menai Straits. That sounds like my kind of thing.
Yeah.
I might have to come with you one day,
Yeah, definitely.
On one. Are you open for business now with the whole lockdown situation? Are things opening up a bit?
Yeah.
Because at the time I was recording this, obviously, just so the listeners know, everything's opening up a little bit more in Wales now with the lockdown. So that's the reason I'm asking Richard that question.
So yeah, from yesterday, which was the 26th of April, I'm allowed now to run outdoor activities for groups that are more than sort of 2 households can be out together now. So we can run sessions with groups up to 30 people. So that means that we can return pretty much to normal work, although still maintaining social distancing and all that sort of stuff as best we can.
Of course.
But over the past few months, when it's been sort of the more restricted, the only work I've really been doing is sort of is one-to-one coaching and some first aid courses for people who needed the qualification for their work, for instance. So it's only been essential training and things like that. So the work's been very, very limited, and it's been,
I can imagine,
really tough.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to talk about coming out with you. We'll discuss it a bit later on.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
That'll be cool. So has there been a time in your life where you felt quite down, struggling with life a little bit, and you've used like paddleboarding and kayaking to help you through?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been the one thing that's been kind of consistent in my life has been the sort of access to water sports, especially as I become older and started doing it as a profession.
Yeah.
Whenever I've kind of felt down, felt upset, felt sad, I know, like, well, tomorrow let's go kayaking, or if we can just make it to Thursday or Friday, we can go kayaking at the weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
So there have been some pretty kind of intense times in my life. I was having a lot of difficulty around the time my eldest daughter was born and stuff. So a lot of reevaluating kind of my whole life and stuff like that. So I became quite depressed at that time, and the one thing that kind of, I'd kind of almost forgot that I could go kayaking, sort of thing. So I wasn't doing anything that was particularly beneficial, and then sort of, and that's kind of when I started sort of training hard again. I sort of put my head down, got back into the kayaking in a big way, and it kind of it really, really sort of helps kind of pull me out of when I'm feeling down or when I'm feeling sad and stuff. As well as 3 years ago now, my dad passed away, and that's the other thing. Around that time, I just used any sort of spare time I had when I wasn't in hospital, or when I wasn't trying to sort of spending time with my family. I'd be in the boat, trying to clear my head and trying to put my feelings out on the water rather than into other people, sort of thing. So, and that's just how I deal with my feelings. I tend to process them better when I just sit with them for a while, and kayaking or paddleboarding by myself just lets me have a lot of time by myself to just sort of just sit and process.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, because I use cycling for that, basically. Like I use cycling quite a lot if I'm feeling like a little bit low, or if you just need to think about something, a situation that might be a little pester in your head. I mean, it just seems like if you take yourself somewhere, obviously if you're paddleboarding or kayaking on your own, you're on the ocean on your own, and I'm cycling, for example, it just gives you time to think, and you come up with like solutions quite often as well, don't you? Or you'll think of from a different angle to a problem, and it might not seem so bad,
Yeah, sometimes it just I find that those thoughts that I'm having just sometimes just need time. They just need time to sit. They just need time to be sort of, that they're given space, that they're given, some attention, and then just sitting with the feeling sometimes is enough, isn't it? Once you've sat with the feeling long enough, it becomes kind of less powerful, or.
Yeah, and that's quite a learning curve, actually, isn't it? Because we quite often jump the gun to, predict the worst and everything. But then, like you say, once you sit with it for a while, it kind of doesn't become so scary, does it? Or it doesn't seem so big,
Absolutely. No,
yeah, and what a great place to gather your thoughts anyway on the ocean. I mean, even the sound of the ocean, the waves and everything, and the birds. Obviously, you've got the seabirds there, especially on the straits. I'm guessing must be quite nice to listen to as well as the
so
visual.
Just sat there, just sat floating, kind of with the tide kind of moving along slowly, and just hearing variety of birds screeching and calling at each other and stuff. Yeah, it's always been quite a very calming influence, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess you've grown up with that as well, haven't you? Living on Anglesey,
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, you kind of when I was a lot younger, you always used to cycle to. I live kind of almost in the middle of Anglesey, so I used to cycle to Bentley or something like that and go and go to the beach and stuff, and just being near the sea was enough back then. So.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am actually. Like, just being by the ocean is plenty for me. I've just been down to South Wales doing some voluntary work down there, and it was right by the coast. The farm I was on was a 5-minute walk to the beach, to the ocean. Yeah, and all I'd have to do is sit up on the cliffs there of an evening, and it was just meditation basically. The birds, the ocean, the little fishing boats nipping back and forth. It's just a nice lifestyle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you just have to kind of, when things are going bad, you just have to sort of sit with that for a bit and realise that actually, yes, in this moment things might feel really bad, but actually all those other things just keep going on, and you just have to sort of almost behave like the ocean and just let it kind of pass you.
Just let it flow.
Yeah, just let it go. Yeah, just kind of sit there with the feelings for a bit, feel them, but let them go.
Yeah. And why would you recommend this activity for others to to help with their kind of mental health?
For me, it's always been with sea kayaking and with a lot of outdoor activities. Actually, they're not team sports. They're very much individual activities, aren't they? So
yeah,
it's you're completely self-reliant in a way, especially if you're paddling solo. Which is something they don't recommend you do, on the sea, unless you're sort of experienced and proficient. So I have to put that caveat in there. I don't want anybody going out into the sea and then getting into difficulty and stuff. But but it's always been just it's complete kind of everything's on me. If anything goes wrong, if I have to sort of rescue myself, or if I get the tides wrong or whatever, and the only time I only spend time with me there, and it's a great opportunity to just sometimes just sit and be, and other times it's a great opportunity to sort of push out some feelings through training, or it's
and a bit more endurance kind of. Yeah.
It's also a time for sort of personal development as well, so that I can be kind of a better paddler,
self-achievement. Yeah,
I think you learn a lot about yourself as well, because you learn a lot about yourself because you're, if you, I can recall like one time trial I did, just lots of things. We kind of sort of started a little bit later than we anticipated, and then you end up kind of thinking, it'll be all right, we'll still go and stuff like that, and you fall into all these little, what they call heuristic traps, and then we ended up finishing the time trial in the dark, and the tide had started to flow the wrong way, and that's when you really learn about kind of what you're like under pressure, what you're like when you're up against it, and how you cope, and how you kind of talk yourself down, and kind of all that sort of stuff, and whether you can think on your feet and think of, right, I need to get out of this situation, what's my options, and you learn a lot about yourself as well.
Yeah, I bet you do, because I mean, that, like you say, in that situation, it must be pretty scary, where you're thinking, well, this is kind of life or death. I need to. You have to just stay calm, don't you? And you so much focus on what you're doing. Yeah. So there's many reasons why you'd recommend it. Basically, it's good for a lot of aspects of
definitely,
of things. Yeah, cool. And obviously, this question won't apply to when you go out with people and on your kayak and paddle boards. But when you're on your own, if you're just going to kind of relax and you're gonna take your mind off things or whatever. Do you like listening to music sometimes when you're out on the sea, or you leave the headphones at home kind of man?
Sometimes I do. Yeah. Sometimes if I'm going out to say I'm going to do a longer trip, I will sometimes take headphones with me just as an option for because some of the trips, that some bits of coastline they're a bit monotonous or a bit boring, and you've just got to get your head down and slog for an hour.
Yeah.
So I sometimes pop in some headphones at that point. I generally try
get some tunes on.
Yeah, I generally just try and listen to the sea and and just try and be in the moment. But I definitely think that music has a place sometimes when I'm training.
Yes,
just help with kind of keeping the motivation levels up.
Yeah, pushing yourself.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you like listening to when you're out on the sea? Various or?
Usually within a training context, it's something with lots of energy. So it's usually like kind of dance music and stuff like that from when I was a teenager. Usually, so it's kind of dance music from the mid to late 90s and on into the early 2000s sort of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine you got some good taste, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Well, I think my taste is impeccable, but other people might disagree.
This is going totally off subject now, by the way, but did you used to go to any of the like dance events in Bangor around that time?
I used to work in the Octagon for a few years.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
So I used to get my fix that way. Listening to loud music, but also kind of almost being paid to do it. So it was quite a good thing in a way. But
yeah.
I used to do quite a bit of that sort of stuff. I used to do a lot of bar work and working in nightclubs and stuff. So that was always quite good fun.
Do you remember a night called Future Funk?
Yes, yeah. I know Future Funk, yeah.
Yeah, so Shads and all them, I'm good friends with them. I've played there a couple of times.
Okay, yeah.
Back in my DJing days.
Yeah. I know Shads and through my friend Arwell, who DJs a lot as well. So.
Arwell Owen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I know all of them guys. Like good bunch of lads. Small world, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I used to do a lot of hill walking and stuff with Arwell a few years ago.
Yeah. He's into the outdoors big time.
Yeah, he's trying to get back into it now. He's considering becoming a mountain leader and stuff. So I'm helping him at the moment with some bits and pieces. So yeah. It's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen him. Anyway, I think we're boring the listeners to death with our little personal chat here. Back to the programme. The next question is whether you've got like a story of gratitude, basically. Has there been a moment in your life where you've really felt kind of grateful for the most simple things in life?
Yeah, and it kind of comes about almost through my work, really. A friend of mine runs a company called Nomad Wales, which I've just become a director of now. What we do is we run kind of like woodland-based retreat type weekends and stuff.
Okay.
And we just strip everything back to basics, take people's phones off them. They sleep in like bell tents or yurts and type things, and all the food is provided for them, and we cook it all on the fire and stuff, and we do a series of challenges and stuff throughout the weekend or the few days with these people. And kind of I always kind of felt that even though I was kind of facilitating the challenges and working, just the really what those weekends kind of give me, and I look forward to them. Even though I know they're going to be I do a lot. We work really hard to make them really, really nice for the people and stuff. But it's always amazing to just have time with people, sat around a fire, eating kind of good food, and the only light you've got is the firelight, and people can tell stories, or we can just sit and listen to nature, or we can do some sort of meditating type stuff. Yeah.
Back to basics basically, and just enjoying each other's company, and just the nature that surrounds you. That sounds amazing.
Strip everything away. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that gives you plenty of time to feel grateful for everything you have in your life. I guess when you go home, you flick the kettle on, go for a nice hot shower. All the luxuries are back, and then you feel you must.
I usually take a few days to sort of go back into normal life after it, really, because I kind of I don't live a normal 9 to 5 life like most people do anyway. So I've got a luxury of being able to sort of stay in that kind of mode for a few days. Usually it takes me a while to decompress from that side of things, which is nice. But then your hair still smells of smoke, and your eyes are still stinging a little bit for a few days afterwards. It's good.
And are they kind of, do you still do these weekends? Are they something that you're still doing?
Yeah, so we kind of did have one scheduled for this weekend coming, but then we a lot of the people that booked on, well, at least half the people that booked on were from over the border in England, so it meant they couldn't come yet and stay in the accommodation we've got. So we've moved it to the end of May, and that's going ahead now. And then we've got a couple of we've got 3 other retreats booked. There's the Nomad Spring Retreat, the Nomad Summer Retreat, and the Nomad Autumn Retreat as well. So we run them out of quite a large woodland near Nebo in just south of Carnarvon.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of quite remote. It's miles away from anywhere, and we get in the woods. We set up camp, if you like, and then participants join in, and then we run a whole weekend of challenges and stuff.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really, really cool.
Yeah.
Something else I'm interested in doing with you.
Those the best way to find out about them is via Facebook or the website. Nomad Wales is that
nomadwales.com?
That's right. Yeah, I think that's the web address, and then Facebook, Nomad Journey with Purpose.
Cool. Well, what I'll do is anyway, for the listeners, I'll put all of these links in the show notes as well, so that they can just go to the show notes and they can click on the link and it'll take them straight there. So we'll do that for sure. That sounds really, really interesting, actually, and I think that would be an amazing thing for anyone to do, by the sounds of it, just to strip yourself back to the basics, but also being surrounded by knowledgeable people. It's not like you're going out there on your own and kind of on a whim. It's you're safe.
We do little activities around the fire, whether it's like a little bit of whittling sticks, or it's telling stories, or there's a few sort of, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a few challenges that we put out there to sort of really test people, to not necessarily to test them against each other, but to test them against themselves, and see if we can get them to learn a bit more about themselves.
Nice. No, that sounds really, really good. I really like that idea. And do you do any like bushcrafting skills, like while you're there, like lessons on how to do certain things?
Yeah, so we obviously the weekend is almost, it's focused around the fire almost. So we teach people some sort of primitive fire lighting techniques, so flint and steel or friction and stuff like that, using a bow drill or whatever. And then I do a little bit on kind of foraging, plants and stuff to add to our food, and some other bits and pieces around kind of just sort of very, very basic sort of primitive techniques and skills.
Yeah, no, this absolutely sounds amazing. I didn't even know you did this before we were talking right now. So to the listeners, this is all kind of new to me as well, which is great. Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. Really well done. I think that can help a lot of people with their mental health. And
I think coming out of the pandemic, I think it'll be something that kind of everybody needs almost. I think certainly I've been looking into developing more of that side of the business as a sort of as a therapeutic intervention for people who have mental health problems or who
definitely
are having issues and stuff. And so I'm exploring some avenues now around whether we can expand it into something a bit different as well, so we can offer it as a almost like, well, a bit like a prescription, for people.
Like a service, like definitely.
So like, when your GP refers you to go to the gym, if you're, or it refers you to, instead of giving you a prescription for tablets, they give you a prescription to come on a weekend, in the woods and stuff.
Yeah, that's the kind of prescriptions that should be handed out.
I think definitely, yeah. I think whether it's a prescription that you get to go kayaking for half a day or you get to spend a weekend in the woods, I think they'd be, much more beneficial than putting people on tablets or putting people in kind of institutions and stuff. There are other options out there.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I mean, obviously, certain people do need medications and things like that, but there's so many people that I speak to that they use the outdoors. They've got an activity that they use, and that sorts them out. And that's what these whole podcasts are about, is talking to people like that can hopefully encourage other people to go down the same path.
Definitely.
And what you just brought up there, everything you've talked about, with your kayaking and everything, but especially that bit at the end, I've loved that. That's a really good idea of taking people out into nature and showing them some skills, and that will give them then, even myself going I'd learn loads off you, I'm sure, and feel more confident in going for like wild camps and things like that by yourself eventually.
Yeah, and I guess if, like I said earlier about me going, when I spend a lot of time by myself in the kayak or on the paddleboard, it's about that. It's not about kind of necessarily becoming a better kayaker or a better paddleboarder. It's about, I think, most of the benefits I get from that time is usually about learning about myself. Really, I get to learn more about how I process stuff, how I work through issues and problems, and how to resolve things, how to sort of fix things, how to make things better, that sort of stuff. And I think that's the key bit of the outdoors for me. And I've seen it in I've been fortunate to see that change happen in people whilst I've been working with them, and that's what I still get a buzz from that 15, 16 years on. I saw it in the first few days of when I was working in the outdoors with little kids in an outdoor centre, and I still see it sort of today when you see people kind of people expect me to get bored of it almost, but I don't. I see my first puffin of the season. I kind of do a little dance, or I see I could be kayaking and porpoises or dolphins pop up next to you, and those experiences are just absolutely magical, and they still are 15 years on. So
yeah, I can't imagine that can ever get boring. Like just seeing animals like that and all of them kind of experiences, that surely can't get boring.
Yeah, I'll still be doing it hopefully until my body tells me I can't anymore.
Yeah,
and even then I'd probably still give it a go.
Still give it a whirl. Yeah, nice one. It's been great talking to you, Rich. There's just this little section at the end here that I call Turn the Table, and it's when the guest gets to ask me a question. And I don't know whether you have a question there for me or...
Yeah, you mentioned earlier kind of cycling and stuff like that as being kind of a big part of your life in terms of being that therapeutic kind of output almost. I just kind of was interested in the type of cycling and stuff you do. Is it more mountain stuff, or is it road based, or is it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of just, I call it just cruising.
Okay.
I just kind of I don't do it for endurance. I don't have a road bike. I've got like a hybrid type bike, okay. So you can go along the road, you can go off road a little bit, so it's that's the kind of cycling I do. I mean, when I'm going, if I feel like putting my foot down a little bit, so to speak, I'll kind of give it a little bit of gas, but if I just generally, cycling for me is more like for the therapeutic side of things, where I'm just kind of looking at my surroundings, taking everything in, listening to the sounds as I'm going past, pulling over take a few photos or whatever. It's just about enjoying the ride for me, So
I think I can definitely see that. I definitely lose sight of that sometimes when I'm training. I can kind of just sit back and analyze the session a bit too much and kind of think, I saw my heart rate drop there. I wonder what happened there. Did I stop pulling, or did I stop? Instead of just thinking, I had a really lovely time on the water tonight.
No, that's why I said to you before. Like, do you ever use your kayaking just to go there purely to just look at your surroundings, listen to the sounds, look at the water, look at the reflection, never mind your heart rate and how fast you've been, that kind of thing, which is good, obviously, for your fitness and all of that. But I think for a meditative reason, I think it's nice to just switch off and just look at where you are and what you're listening to and that kind of thing,
What I got to try and do is kind of balance it out, really. Try not to go too hard.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. When I'm out on my bike, if I've been up and down a road I've been up, or a kind of a route that I've been before, sometimes, like you said, with your kayaking, you might get a boring section where and then I might put my foot down a little bit to get a bit of the heart going a little bit, and then I'll get to the nice scenic section and I'll chill out, I'll slow down and just appreciate what's kind of in front of me. So I love that, I find cycling just a nice speed. Like, I find walking a little bit too slow. I find a car's a bit too fast, and cycling is just a nice little speed, Yeah, I love it. So that's my kind of cycling. I'm not a Lycra wearer, unfortunately. I don't kind of, test my speed and see how fast I've gone and all that. I'm nothing against that, obviously, but that's not the kind of cycling that I enjoy,
It's good.
So, yeah. Well, cheers, Rich. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I had a really good chat with you today. I've found some interesting stuff about you, and like I said, I'll put the links to all of to Morn Active and the other. What was the other one called again? Sorry.
Nomad.
Yeah, I'll put all the links down.
I'll send you the links so you can put them on the show notes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. That'll be great. I'm sure some of the listeners will be very interested in what you're doing there.
Great. Thank you, Guy.
Cheers, Richard. Well, you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, nice one.
Okay, take care, Rich.
Cheers, Guy. Thank you.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Bye. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that chat with Richard, a man that has so much knowledge and experience with many outdoor activities. Before we started talking, I had no idea about Nomad, the retreats that he helps organise. Such a great idea in general, but especially for helping create a healthy, peaceful frame of mind. I'll be leaving the links to Nomad and Richard's other outdoor business, Morn Active, in the show notes. Richard loves his work, and so much so that he also uses it for his own mental health when needed. I can see how he benefits from being on the open waters, with the sound of the waves lapping against the kayak or paddleboard, the seabirds singing their little hearts out, and the stunning views that he gets from the North Wales coastline. What a great form of meditation. So if this activity sounds like something you may enjoy, and you haven't given it a go yet, then maybe you should. It could help you gain a peaceful frame of mind, just like it does for Richard. And who knows, maybe this will be your form of meditation in the future. Thank you once again for tuning in. If you want to join us over on Facebook and Instagram, then search for My Meditation Podcast. I'll leave the links to both in the show notes, as well as the link to the official My Meditation Podcast channel, which you're more than welcome to subscribe to. The Facebook and Instagram page offer positive, inspiring and light-hearted quotes, photos and videos designed to bring a little happiness into your life. If you found any value from this podcast, I'd highly appreciate it if you could rate it and review it. And if you're feeling extra passionate, then please feel free to share it with the world and spread the word. It all helps the channel grow, which in turn means we can reach more people, which means helping more people. These podcasts are getting released every fortnight, so I hope you can join us for the next, and who knows, it could be about an interesting hobby or activity that could possibly be a life changer for you. Until then, take care and have fun, folks. Peace.